Okay. We are live, actually, Sonia.
Awesome. What's up, everybody? This is Sonia Gomez from Legalize It, Don't Criticize It, the place to be for cannabis and hemp CBD. And I am excited to be here with Charles Wu. We're going to be doing CannaTalk, Cannabusiness Talk. Generally, we have ROZ McCartney, who is a unique force in the cannabis space. And I'm just really excited to answer any questions that you guys have about cannabis health, cannabis investing, cannabis money, the industry, whatever you guys want to know. This is your chance to ask me. The only two subjects that are not allowed are kids and husband. No, I'm just kidding.
We can ask you about kids and husband too. Great. Well, I'll tell you, Sonia, I've actually been with ROZ. We are in Oakland today at the New West Summit. And have you ever been to the New West Summit before?
I haven't been to New West Summit. I know a lot of folks who vend over there. And actually, one of the people that I interviewed on Legalize It, Don't Criticize It is actually there, Peter Vogel.
Oh, well, it's not just Peter. I mean, there's a whole crew there. I ran into Ophelia, if you remember Ophelia Chong.
Yeah, I do.
Yep. She's the artist. I ran into Kyle. I think you interviewed him too. I don't know if it was you
Kyle
or Lawrence.
Turley.
He's like the guy's a monster. Well, I mean, he was an all-pro NFL offensive lineman, right?
Yeah.
But when you meet the guy, I mean, talk about feeling inadequate when you see someone who's 6'4" or 6'6", and
probably forget about it. He's huge.
Yeah. So I mean, no, it's been wild, and the only thing I can say is we had a long night last night, and I think around 9 p.m. Roz checked out, so she might still be, she's been very busy.
Sleeping it off. She might be sleeping it off. It's fine. No.
Definitely. So while we're getting started and stuff like that and still getting on, what we usually do is we open it to a bit of a Q&A from our end and for our audience. So if you have a question, we have people who are in the class, and then we have people who are joining on Facebook Live. If you want to post your question in the comments, we will do our best to get to it. And then for the people who are on the live, if you want to either raise your hand, or if not, we might just actually call you out and have you talk or ask some questions. And I see, while we're waiting, I'm going to see, I'm just going to put Billy Walker, who's in the class right now. We're going to put him on the spot and see if he wants to talk. Oh, wait, no. Billy Walker is not able to talk because he's using an older version of Zoom. Well, in the interim, while we wait, for people who are in the class, if you want to maybe ask questions in the chat, we will get to that. Otherwise, we'll see it from the Facebook Lives people. If you guys have some questions, and we'll go from there. So first question I have, this was from submission. Hold on, let me pull up my questions.
Pull up your questions. Hey, guys on Legalize It, Don't Criticize It. I know this is our first live Q&A, so I just want to encourage all of you guys. I know I see some of you guys sharing your stories, and I'll just take a second while he's pulling up the questions to say what's up to you guys. We got Brad, Yellow Eagle. We got Jackie's in the house. We have Albert in the house. What's going on? Hi, Muhammad.
Great.
And John, what's going on? So you guys, as you have questions, or if there's anything that you've been wanting to know, go ahead and post your questions in the comments, and we will snag as many as we can during our Q&A session today. And I hope you guys enjoy it. If you guys are excited about this and want to see more live Q&As, go ahead and make sure that you like and share this video and tag 5 people that you know are going to get this. It's our mission to be able to spread the truth about cannabis and help you guys understand what the opportunities are here so that you can take full advantage of them, whether you want to get into the industry or you just enjoy using the plant, or perhaps you're considering investing into the cannabis space. Maybe you want to jump from corporate to cannabis. We are here to help you understand how to do it and what your first and next step should be. So make sure that you post your questions, like and share the video, and tag 5 people that you know are going to get value from it.
Wow, great. So I have Linwood McLean who submitted a question. This is definitely going to be out of my wheelhouse, so I'll defer to you. Linwood's question is, what kind of strain should I look into if I'm trying to counteract diabetes, cataracts, and nerve pains? And specifically, Linwood's question is surrounding cataracts. I don't even know where to start on that one, Sonia. And I don't know if that's...
Yeah, no. I just am thinking about the question because I think there's a lot of misconception that people believe that it's a specific strain or phenotype. You hear a lot of buzzwords out there like Kush or indica or sativa or hybrid. And I'll tell you that it's not really about the strain so much as it is about the oil content or as it is about the concentration of the cannabis. You really want to have something that is high concentration. And when you're looking at cataracts, and fortunately for science, there's a lot of different ways to administer cannabis right now. And I'd really be looking at the extract as a whole and the different ways that you can use extract. Now, I think if we're really thinking about the cannabis strains that have the highest oil content, I would go for an indica dominant strain. And in a moment, I'll think of a couple of names that you might look into. I'd be interested to know what state you're in, because if you're in a legal state, you could really lean on the dispensaries there to show you some of the different administrations of the cannabis oil. There's topicals. I've even seen eye drops coming out, similar to where I've seen suppositories come out for more severe, illnesses like cancer or colon cancer and things. They have different ways of administer these things now. So depending on where you live, you may even have an actual solution, cannabis concentrate solution that you could put in or near the eye that could help out with that. But I would go for an indica dominant extraction or concentrate product to address those more severe issues. The other thing that when I heard you say diabetes, and what was the other thing she said in there?
Cataracts.
Diabetes and cataracts. Was there anything else?
Let me go back to the question. It was diabetes. It was primarily diabetes and cataracts. Sorry, I've got so many windows open.
I'll just speak to diabetes.
The diabetes, cataracts, and nerve pain.
Okay, so I will speak to diabetes and nerve pain. Both are related to inflammation in the body, and one, diabetes in particular, which can actually trigger nerve pain, is an imbalance in your adrenal and insulin levels, which I'm sure you already know. I'd love to tell you that there is a quick fix to either one of these things, but you really have to look at your total habit. Your life practices or your life habits are really going to contribute to how your diabetes is acting up and how it's affecting your other systems, like your nervous system, for instance. When your insulin levels are off balance, it's really easy to start disintegrating the nerve sheath, which actually triggers the nerve pain. So I'd love to know more about what's in your diet. I know you hear that all the time, and unfortunately the traditional dietary charts that we see, those nutritional charts, that's the triangle that says you're supposed to consume this much bread and this much fruit and this much veggies. It's actually not a really great rule of thumb to be following. As a matter of fact, I've been studying on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, where it says that you have to cut out a lot of the whites, so breads, potatoes, starches, yeasts, if you want to start to see real effective transformation when it comes to your diabetes. My father has had diabetes for the better part of my life, and he's actually been able to eliminate his insulin dependency by going to an 80% vegetarian diet. He still eats meat, but it's just on occasion. He eats no starch and no yeast. And I know this is not the answer that you're looking for, but it is the truth. And that's what I'm here to give you, that you actually have to make lifestyle changes. And what cannabis is going to do is help make those lifestyle changes a lot easier. So it can help ease the discomfort associated with the neuropathy. It can help ease the transition while you're detoxing from certain foods. And it can really help to curb the appetite or stimulate your appetite, depending on which strain you use, while you're both eliminating foods and introducing new, healthier, highly nutritious foods that you can use to start calming down your otherwise inflamed diabetes. And once you get the dietary system, I'll dive into the endocannabinoid system for just like 2 seconds. The endocannabinoid system has a CB1 and CB2 receptor. The CB2 receptor is managing everything in your digestive system, which is contributing to how your adrenal system and your insulin levels and the rest of your body is really the whole peripheral nervous system. So if you can get your digestive system working properly, the sugars, the insulins, the adrenals, all of these different things will start to balance out, and cannabis will be an incredible tool for you to sort of calm the reactivity that your body's going to go through while it's both detoxing and adjusting to your new healthy habits.
Wow. That's an amazing answer. I don't even know what to say. You definitely know a lot. That's all I'm going to say. Let's move on to our next question. Let me pull this up. I have Bradford Treywick. Let's see. I want to ensure that I capitalize on this ground floor opportunity. Don't know much of anything. I always thought it was about getting high, but since learning more about this, my mind is blown and I'm seeing what cannabis really is. Can we talk a little bit more about the technology? And specifically, I'm seeing things from car fuel to home insulation to I guess he's asking about hemp and everything on that front. So maybe, Sonia, do you want to share some of your thoughts on what the other possibilities are outside of just getting high?
Yeah, well, hemp is actually, if we are specifically talking about hemp is not used to get high. So there's dispelling myth number one. And there's 2 types of hemp. One that's more closely related to cannabis and has a higher oil content. You can see it being produced right now all across Colorado, California, and the other emerging legal states. It is a shorter, bushier plant that has, again, the higher oil content, and it's being bred and produced for its CBD content. So they can extract out that CBD and make a bunch of different home or remedies like tinctures, salves, topicals, pills, all these different things that have no psychoactive effect whatsoever, that are kid friendly and mother approved. You can use, there's over 40 different conditions you can use that oil for. And again, it will not give you that quote unquote high that cannabis has a reputation for, and hemp is often confused for. The other type of hemp is industrial hemp. Industrial hemp is a lot longer, more linear, and has a lot more of a fibrous stalk, which makes the whole plant really, really valuable. Now, I see them used in both capacities, and what's most incredible about hemp is that it does have the capability to interrupt some of the largest industries in the world: fuel, building, the medical industry. These are like the top 3 disruptions. Now, we can look at the tech revolution, we can look at the gold rush, we can look at the oil boom as some examples of what happened when this type of discovery was let loose into the world. The way that transportation was revolutionized, our building was revolutionized, how quickly we could put infrastructure in place. The only problem with all of these things were they're not necessarily eco-friendly or quote unquote or earth-friendly, right? So when we look at hemp and all of the different ways that it's being used, we are not only a competitor, but a healthier replacement for some of the largest industries or infrastructures in the world right now. So when you're looking at hemp, whether it's on the cultivation side or just investing into hemp derived companies or materials, I would say it's probably your smartest move that you can make right now. And I won't name any companies in particular. Maybe Charles, you want to do that, but I would say, because my family's from the oil space, I say go into gas.
That's funny.
It's kind of messed up. I'm like on the opposite team, but you know, when it's the right thing for the planet, what are you going to do?
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So everyone who's just tuning in right now, we are on CannaTalk with Roz. Usually Roz is on, but she had a personal emergency that occurred. So we have Sonia and myself are filling in for Roz, doing our best to fill in for her. She's definitely a force in the industry. If you're tuning in on Facebook Live or if you're logged in to the class, feel free to post or ask a question. And we are just doing open Q&A on all sorts of questions around cannabis, whether it's business, whether it's health, whether it's policy. We're definitely going to get to it. So getting into the next question, we have Hannah Jimmy asking, is CBD oil good for aches and pains, and why or what type should I look at? That's another health one. Sonia, I'm going to pass that one to you.
All right. So will CBD help with inflammation? Is that what the question was?
It said aches and pains, but inflammation's probably the source. Is probably the source, right?
What I love about these questions is that they're very surface level. So it allows me an opportunity to sort of explain what your doctors won't tell you in the 7 minutes that they spend with you. And that's a pretty scary statistic, considering that we give our lives over to the medical professionals and the medical industry. And not that I'm against the medical industry, you know, there's plenty of advancements that have saved the lives of millions around the world. But I also will say that we, especially here in this country, we're in the situation where our doctor and patient relationship is no longer quality. It's all about quantity. So you're not going to get the information that you need to address the source of the aches and pains or the conditions that you guys are suffering from, which is why this is exciting for me to be able to share this information with you. So when you're talking about aches, pains, stiffness, headaches, even when you get into the more severe sharpness or migraines or constant headaches or things like that, there is a source of this stuff. And one of my favorite sayings that I received from my healers when I was transitioning from being on my pharmaceutical medications and in severe pain to a more holistic lifestyle was, emotional stagnation is the source of, it is a physical manifestation. So if you are emotionally stressed, if you are overwhelmed, if you are not drinking enough water, if you're not eating the right foods for your body, all of these things are going to contribute to how your physical body is either responding or reacting to what you're doing. Now, those two things are different. Let's say that your child is throwing a fit and they're kicking and screaming, they're kicking you, they're slapping you, they're going nuts, and you are put in a situation where you either have to respond or react. Now, a parent who reacts, we've all seen them in the grocery store. They snatch their kid up by their arm and start yelling at him and shaking him around and being like, you shut your mouth and you be quiet. And we're all looking aghast like, oh my God, she's so abusive. Well, think about that. Then we have the other parent who's on the other side of the extreme, who will look at that client, who will look at that child and be like, no, thank you. Use your words. Let's be nice. So let's think of the kid who's throwing a fit like the ache and the pain. Your body is screaming to get your attention. There's something happening in your life, whether it's a food habit, or maybe you're drinking 2 cups of coffee before you have any water at all, or maybe you're eating the wrong food, whatever it is. There's something that is triggering this fit that your body is having. So that's number one. Let's look at our lifestyle choices. Number two, when we look at addressing the symptom is the ache and pain, right? The syndrome is the migraine or a series of headaches. But the actual symptoms is the sharpness of pain, where you're getting your headache. Is it in between your eyes? Is it the back of your neck? All of these different things are like giant arrows that say, oh, this organ isn't working well, or you're too stressed out at work, or your posture isn't correct at your desk. And all of these things are going to contribute to the ache and pain. The question that you asked was, will CBD help with aches and pains? The short answer is yes. You want to be very careful about the brand that you select, the source of where it's coming from. And there's two things that you should be absolutely certain of. One, that it's full spectrum, which means that it hasn't gone through several layers of extraction in order to remove THC or the other active cannabinoids. And number two, that it's as close to organic, or that you have batch tracking. It's called a COA report. You should be able to see that report with every bottle or batch that you receive. So if you order 2 bottles and you receive 1 report, you know that those 2 bottles are from the same batch. If you receive 2 different bottles and 2 different reports that have conflicting information, or they're not exactly the same, that's actually a positive thing, because you know that the source of your product is actually giving you true and real facts about what is happening with that particular batch. So make sure that it's full spectrum, get as close to organic as you can, and make sure that you're getting your COAs. A lot of problems with CBD products right now, and if it's okay, I can share with you 2 that you should look at.
Yeah, go for it.
One is called Hemp. And if you guys are looking for CBD, I can post a link in here for you. And the second is Zillies. Now, the reason why I like these 2 products is because A, they're full spectrum, which means they've gone through the least amount of processing to extract the oil. 2, there's no THC in them whatsoever, which makes me really comfortable using it like on my daughter's gums while she's teething, or to help my 10-year-old daughter while she's going through growing pains, or even my 12 or 13-year-old who may have menstrual cramps. Even my son uses it, who is an avid football player. So the fact that there's 0 THC in it makes me really comfortable to use it for my whole family. But the thing that I love most about it is that it's actually set in a liposomal delivery system. You'll see in different CBD products that there's a hemp oil base, there's a coconut oil base, there's some MTC oil, there's some sort of fat delivery system, because you need the fat in order to absorb it into the human body. But often those oils that I just spoke about, they expire. And so what the worst thing you can do is put expired fat into your body. It's like rancid oil that you're drinking. You don't care for yourself that easily. So that's pretty gross, right, Charles? So the thing I love about these 2 products that I mentioned, Hemp and Zillies, is the fact that it's set in a liposomal delivery system, which is the closest plant.
What's a liposome? What a lipo? What?
Liposomal. So it's liposol.
Okay.
Liposol was synthetically formed for the pharmaceutical industry and it's found in every name brand drug that you could ever think of. And it allows the active ingredients of the medication to absorb into the human bloodstream. Okay. Does that make sense? So what is happening right now with science meeting cannabis is they've developed a plant-based version of this technology, put it with CBD oil, which makes it which makes the CBD oil 80% more absorbable into the body. Number 1. Number 2, it is fully effective, and you can feel the full effects within 7 to 10 minutes of taking it, whereas most CBD oil on the market takes anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes and is only 7 to 12% absorbed into your body. So when you're looking at how much money you're spending on a product, you want the most effect, you want the most bang for your buck. You want to make sure that the product is organic, that it has the proper delivery system to absorb into your body. And that way you'll be able to effectively address the aches, the pains, the headaches, and the physical discomfort that you guys are talking about.
Wow, another amazing answer to what seemed like to be a simple question. But I guess there's never anything simple out there.
Well, I mean, I could answer the questions with a yes or a no, but I don't think that really gives like, if you're trying to understand why take CBD oil versus the Tylenol, you need to understand why, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's great. Yeah.
Tylenol works because it has a specific delivery system. If you want the same effect from your CBD, which is a natural product, you want to look for the same delivery system so that you get the same effect and relief.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, let's move on to the next question. We have Carmen Johnson. Oh, this is an interesting one. So in my state, the regulators are charging $250,000 plus as an entry fee to get in this industry. How do I make money? You know, the barriers are basically, the barriers are high. How can I make money in this industry if, you know, I don't have $250,000 to even start, or don't have insider connections or anything on that front? You want to start with this one, Sonia?
Sure. And this one, unfortunately, is a short answer. There's really 3 ways to get into this industry. Number 1, we call touching the plant. That is starting a dispensary, that is starting a cultivation center, that's registering for some sort of license through the state to be able to cultivate, manufacture, or extract, or ultimately sell cannabis or wholesale cannabis to other licensed businesses. I'm going to tell you the honest God truth. That is probably the most expensive and least lucrative way to get into the industry right now, because of how highly regulated all of this is. It's not federally legal. States are acting independently with the permission of the government, and local municipalities even have another layer of that. So $250,000, you would be lucky to have that be the base level rate that you had to pay in order to get into the touching the plant side of the industry. The second way to get into the space is to leverage your current skill sets. So let's say that you are an accountant. Let's say that you are a PR rep. Let's say that you are a plumber or a contractor, even a medical professional. You can leverage your current skill sets, licenses, and degrees, and add what we're calling further education to develop new skill sets and new understanding of an emerging industry. There's no mistake here. This is not a bunch of hullabaloo. Like, this is the wave of the future across many, many spaces. And it'll be up to you whether or not you want to stay relevant or fall behind in this new wave, in this new rush. The way that you stay relevant is by developing the new skill sets. So plugging into further education courses or certification courses to develop a medical understanding or a professional understanding of what's happening progressively with the cannabis space. You can act as a consultant. You can start to do construction for cannabis grows without actually having to grow the plant. That means that you're on a way less of a learning curve, and you can immediately start to pull in some of the green dollars from the green rush. The third, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were done.
Oh, no, I was going to say the third way to get into this space is to develop new skill sets. Now, I get this question all the time. Hey, I'm in an illegal state, or I wish I could work in a dispensary, but I have no clue where to get started. The third way is to develop new skill sets. So let's say that you're a plumber and you freaking hate toilets. That's fine. You can develop new skill sets to serve the new industry and get hired into one of these companies and not take on the headache or the risk of a $250,000 licensing fee, which, let's just be honest, that's like buying dinner on a first date when it comes to this space. Like, you will spend upwards of $2 million just to get started and then be extremely disappointed when you can't write any of it off on taxes. If you talk to the business owners in the cannabis space, they're extremely frustrated right now. So I would always lean towards, if you want to get into this industry, developing new skill sets or tailoring the skill sets that you already have and jumping from corporate to cannabis, so that you can actually profit without having to have that huge expenditure up front.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think I'll just add, in many states, opening a dispensary doesn't necessarily equate to success, even if you're able to obtain a license. I was with Deshita. You remember Deshita, right, Sonia?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I was with Deshita, and she was telling me about what's going on in Minnesota, where they've made the rules so, I guess, so god-awful bad is the simplest way of saying it, that these dispensaries are going out of business because the amount of red tape that they're running into just to kind of get into business is just insane. There's just no other way to say it. I think something else, because everyone always asks, and I want to expand a little bit. I'm going to share my screen really quick and just kind of show what we've been doing. I was actually just working on this. There's so many opportunities to do what Sonia says, call it either picks and shovels or enter the industry without touching the plant. Now let's just kind of talk about them a little bit. This is a lady called Lolina Cornegay, and she goes by the Nurse CEO. So she's a nurse in California, and literally she's created a Nurse CEO Summit that she was doing for quite some time. And just by adding cannabis into her educational curriculum, her sales for her summit have literally 3x. They've completely blown up. So there's plenty of these examples. Here's another one we know. Len, you've met Len, right, Sonia? I don't remember if you did or not. Yeah. So Len, he was an IT security person, and literally he was doing IT security, and he walked into a dispensary, looked around and said, oh my gosh, these guys, their IT is awful. Their credit card machines are insecure. He started talking to him, and he's gotten into the business of IT and security for the cannabis space. And then I want to highlight Jalea, because I think you're actually working with her. She was a software person. So her and her husband have a software application for, I think it's medical scheduling was what Best Time was. And now, since learning about the industry, they've evolved their application, and there's even a video or something of that on your site. Do you want to maybe talk about that? Is that okay for a second, Sonia? Or
yeah, absolutely. So these are stories that I absolutely love, and both Charles and I are working with entrepreneurs who are sort of making that pivot right now into the cannabis space. So they were running Best Time, and they turned their app into Leaf Time, which is really awesome. It's an app that allows you to, it's kind of like a one-stop shop for the cannabis consumer or enthusiast to be able to identify the closest dispensary to you that has your favorite products. And how many of you, just for a show of hands, hate to wait in line? They have a jump the line service where you can pay, I don't know, an extra $3 or $5, I think it's an actual $4.20. You pay $4.20
That's
to
awesome.
jump the line, so that you don't have to sit there and waste your precious time waiting to get your medicine. And that's a huge benefit for somebody like me who's, I'm busy, I'm working, I have to get home, I have to get to the grocery store, but I want to stop and get my medicine. So I would love to jump the line every single time. We're actually working right now to bring in the social aspect of this, but it's just so cool to see how people with absolutely no experience in the cannabis space whatsoever can come in and apply some of their knowledge and expertise in order to build a new business from just identifying the opportunity here. So I'm really excited about Leaf Time coming out, because they offer, for those of you guys who are in illegal states or states who are just adopting new legislation, they'll have all of the compliance rules there. They'll be able to explain to you what's happening, what strain is best used for what condition. And it's an incredible resource system that you'll be able to access from the comfort of your computer or phone.
Oh, definitely. That's great. And I'll just give two more examples before we wrap this portion up. Here is Michelle. She's a real estate diva, and literally she's gotten in the industry and she's starting to get listings for finding dispensaries and learning and finding real estate. So
compliant real estate that's licensable.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's been
Awesome.
great. And then here's another fella. His name is Eric, and he's an artist. And he's launched what's called Art 420, which is a marketplace for cannabis-inspired art. So I think the moral of the story to look at here is getting into the cannabis space or getting into the green rush. I mean, right, this is a $10 billion industry. You can try to grow weed and start a dispensary, and that's one option. But there are so many more options all around, from marketing services to electrical services to plumbing services to applications to IT. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And if you're looking to get in the industry, don't just look at it only from, oh, how do I go grow and sell some weed? Look at all the other ancillary participants that need to be part of the industry, because the people that grow marijuana, they've got to buy toilet paper. They have to get the trash taken out. They need security cameras. They need, cash registers. The list goes on and on. They need real estate services. They need all sorts of wonderful things that is out there. I'm going to go on to our next question. Let's see. Here's another one, I guess. What about Oh wait, no, we asked that question on the CBD side. Okay, let me go to a different question. Sorry, we're getting a lot of the same questions, so it's a little harder to filter them. Here's one. What is the state, or can you give an opinion on Texas and potential legalization efforts over there?
Have you ever heard that song, Blame Canada from South Park? That's my insight. Texas is a cluster F.
Wow.
You got a city like Austin, which, let's just be honest, Texas is like, I don't know, humongous. And you have all of these like independent little districts in there that are basically operating independently. So where Austin is, and it's a little bit more liberal, you are seeing more progressive conversations taking place, where if you're down in Dallas and Houston, not so friendly. So here is what I'll tell you when it comes to Texas. And it won't be very in depth because there's not a lot to share there. There are both extremes that are present. There is a huge fight that is happening. It's becoming more and more public. If you're in Texas, I suggest that you get plugged in with your local communities there. Check for NORML, NORML, NORML. They have all sorts of lobbying things happening there. I'm sure Minorities for Medical Marijuana also have a chapter there. Am I right?
I think so. I'd have to talk to ROZ. I don't know.
We'll find out about that and let you guys know. But you really want to find out who the lobbying groups are. They're probably somewhat underground, and NORML is international. So they'll probably be your best resource to figure out what's happening there and how you can get involved with the movement if that's part of what your interest is. Otherwise, I'm not going to really share because they don't know what they're doing, and neither do we. And I think that they will probably be one of the last ones to get on board, unfortunately. That's my gut instinct right now. But you know what? I have been proved wrong time and time again. I would have never, if you would have said, will Oklahoma legalize? I would have been like, yeah, when they went to president. I'm so surprised. Literally, like, I helped write legislation that legalized cannabis in Colorado. When we were sitting there at 2:00 in the morning with the head of the Department of Revenue, Matt Cook, and like our eyes are falling out of our heads from writing so much content and reading stuff over and over again that it stops making sense. We were sitting there looking across from each other, and you swear to heaven and earth that there's no way anybody else is going to do this for at least 10 years. We have a decade to figure this out. And in less than 3 years, we saw full recreational legalization take place in not only Colorado, but we saw Washington, Oregon, Nevada, Arizona, all of these other states, Rhode Island, like, come on, you know, that things getting totally, this is going 10 times faster than anyone would have ever anticipated. And there's no sign of it slowing down. So I would say don't lose hope, but I would also encourage you to get involved, because right now they could be saying, yes, ballots or voting is right around the corner. Get involved and find out what's happening so that you can be on the proactive side of the yes ballot.
Wow. Okay. Well, this is an interesting question here. I am in a state that is not legal yet. How can I get started to either, how do I get myself ready so that I'm there to make money when legalization occurs?
Leverage the internet. So I'll just give you a personal example and reassure you that there's many, many more out there depending on what state that you're in. But the answer to that question in short is, if you want something that is convenient and easy to access, I would look for certification programs or info products that are on the internet from a reputable source that gives you A, a certification, and B, some sort of recognition for completing their course, and develop your knowledge and expertise. Knowledge is power here, you guys. There's every Tom, Dick, and Harry wants to be an expert in the industry, but only a handful of them have actually gone through the motions. And I would say like 1 out of 100 actually come from the cannabis space. Me and my husband have about 30 years in this industry. I grew up running barefoot through the Humboldt Gardens. And if you don't know where Humboldt or the Emerald Triangle is, it is the marijuana mecca of the world. We're next to Amsterdam. We're probably most famous for cultivating the highest quality cannabis in the world. I mean, the biggest rap stars are rapping about the products that come out of the gardens that my families have been growing, you know, family friends. So I have been fully immersed in this culture for the better part of my life. And when I am educating folks, it comes with that lineage. It comes with those decades of history and experience in this space that I'm transmitting to you. Likewise with Charles and Deshita, and you know, they are doing the deep research and aligning themselves with people like me who have that history in the industry, and they are making the corporate to cannabis jump right now and are offering really high quality information for you guys to plug into and start to follow, so that you can develop that knowledge base and find your foothold in the industry. And here's the great thing, you guys, knowledge is not illegal. Neither is hemp or CBD, as long as it has 0 THC in it. And the last time I checked, knowledge doesn't have THC in it. So you're fine. It's totally legal for you to not only gain it, but share it. So I just really encourage you to plug into these online programs. I have a health certification where I'm teaching people how to become cannabis health coaches and giving you an actual certification at the end, and
oh, wow,
how to build a business. I know Charles has a program that he's teaching people who are working in traditional corporate right now, helping them make the jump into the cannabis space. So there's all types of these education programs out there, and I encourage you to do your research and plug into the one that best fits you and your interests, and you will be plenty ahead of you will be further ahead than the legislators who are going to regulate you. I can guarantee you that.
Wow, that's a great answer. Let's continue with our next question. Here we have, what is a dab? I don't know if that's actually a question or
708. What's a dab? I can actually show you what a dab is if you guys want to see it. And
yeah, let's see it.
I'm not gonna like do one, but
okay.
I'll show you what the rig looks like. Hang on just a second. Hey, Okay, so they're going to bring it up to me. A dab is basically ways to do this, to do the extraction, but that's a different answer for a different question. But a dab is a way to administer a cannabis concentrate. You generally want your heat to be regulated around 708 degrees. Or 710 degrees. You can, this is a water pipe or a bong, and you put the concentrate inside of this part of the glass here. The concentrate comes into these regulated tubs. I love that they are child-proof. These are hard plastic. They are fully labeled and compliant. You can see everything that's listed on them. And then when you pop these open, you can see the product right inside. Now, this is like the nectar of the goddess. It has like little seal and everything. Now, there's a couple different kinds. There's sugars, there's rosin, there's all different types. This one is more of a sugar, which is, it's a little looser in the container. These are very, very, very potent medicines, often ranging anywhere from 79 to 99% THC content, and a very, very powerful painkiller, sleep aid. And you just get a little tiny bit of the product right here on this type of spoon. Heat this glass piece with a torch, which is that you can't do it with a lighter or the lighter will pop. So you light it with a torch. I'm likely to light my eyebrows on fire if I set this thing on. So let's just not have an Eddie Murphy moment on this chat, but you can administer it like this. And then you put the product right inside of here once it's heated to about 110 degrees. And then inhale on the water pipe. Now, this is going to be really super powerful for you if you are suffering from chronic insomnia, chronic pain, migraines, neuropathy. A lot of folks who are amputees or veterans with a high anxiety or PTSD use this sort of cancer recovery, or people who are in the midst of chemotherapy. This is a way for you to ingest the concentrate, which will make it immediately effective. Now, eating the concentrate or ingesting it orally, or even using it in a suppository, I know that sounds like so unattractive, but it's the truth. Those are the most medicinal ways to ingest it. But if you need immediate relief, the dab or smoking or vaporizing cannabis or using it as an inhalant will allow it to be effective within 3 to 5 minutes. So if you need that immediate relief, that's something that you can use. And it is a huge thing with millennials right now. Like, it's a counterculture thing where they got these torches and they're like blowing up these, glass things and smoking these concentrates. So you can see it's a huge movement with recreation. I like it because it doesn't have as much of a smell. It has a really nice taste. It's like champagne next to boxed wine. It's a very high level product, but also, like, you drink 3 glasses of champagne and you're straight tipsy, where you can drink a box of wine and not be drunk. It's very much like that, and the effect a little bit goes a long way. And if you're using it for medicinal reasons, or you just want to giggle your ass off, or perhaps just pass out till tomorrow, this is the product that you'll want to use, and a method of ingestion that you might consider.
So we just had a request for a suppository demonstration, Sonia. I don't know if that's going to happen.
That's only happens in my paid forum. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh, the cash register's ringing.
I know.
Oh dear. Moving on. Here's one. I guess this is probably more for me. With the slump in the stock market recently, what impact are you seeing on marijuana stocks? Is there a correction? So the quick and dirty answer on that is, the first thing to start with is to look at, you have to ask the question, what type of investor are you? Are you investing in more of a long-term basis, which is more the term investing? Or are you trying to be more of an active type person, which would be more of a trader type? And the way I'd look at this, I like to give the example of real estate. So in real estate, I can make money in real estate in two different ways. I can buy a piece of real estate. Maybe it's a piece of land, maybe it's a house, maybe it's a, some sort of commercial building. And I buy that. And usually what would happen is I would buy that real estate knowing that maybe 5 years from now or 10 years from now, something is going to happen in the future that will really cause the value of that real estate to increase dramatically. So examples might include near probably about 10 miles from where I live, they were building a new highway. And when the highway when the highway got built and the off-ramp got built, there was people who said, well, we know the highway plans are coming. We know this off-ramp is going to come. It's going to create a lot of traffic. Let's go buy all the farm fields or all the land around there. And that will become eventually maybe gas stations or things like that. So that's, for many people who are investing in cannabis, that's essentially the methodology that we're using. We're saying, okay, today the cannabis market is still emerging. We see legalization coming around the corner. We see all these different things. There was a recent thing, I don't know if you followed this, Sonia, where the DEA actually rescheduled cannabis. So it's no longer Schedule 1, or it's no longer Schedule 1. So that paves the way for Epidiolex, which is the first cannabinoid FDA-approved drug by GW Pharmaceuticals. So if you're investing in that manner, the short-term corrections don't really matter because you're thinking long-term, saying 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. That's what I believe this market's going to be. And if you look at any stock chart, and I don't have any to bring up right now, but if you look at any historical stock chart from, say, or you know what, I could probably pull one up right now real quick. But if you look at all these historical stock charts, it goes back to, hey, if you bought Amazon back in 2000, how much would it be worth today? Or if you got into Apple back in 2000, your $1,000 would be worth, $50,000 or $100,000 or so forth on that front. So if you're investing with that methodology on the cannabis side, I wouldn't give, there's always going to be ups and downs with the market. There is the reality that we have been in a bull market from the stock and also from the housing market for the last 5 or 10 years, so that the probability of some correction occurring over the next couple of years, or even now because of what happened in the past couple of days, is possibility. Those are all possibilities. But as a long-term investor, those are things that I wouldn't really take into consideration because that's where emotions come into play and might create some problems. Now, if you're looking at volatility, there are people who play the market in that way. That's a term called trading. And they use various indicators such as technical analysis or momentum. There's a variety of methods you can use for that. So going back to the real estate analogy, there are people, I might buy that piece of land, hoping that or knowing that in 5 years they're going to build that highway off ramp or a new airport's coming in and that land and commercial value will rise dramatically. Or maybe I'm into buying and flipping houses, and that's more active investing or more active income versus passive income. So if we're talking more on the technical indicator side of things, I think, that's a question we can take later because that dives into a little bit of a rabbit hole. But if you're concerned about the correction, if you're concerned about a drop in price or things like that, if you're a long-term investor and you believe that this cannabinoid or the cannabis industry or the green rush is going to be the future, whether it becomes a $50 billion or $100 billion industry over the next 5 or 10 years, a short-term correction, even, if it is a meltdown that occurs, as big as even the 2000 .com boom, if you'd still bought Amazon at the height of 2000 and held it all the way to today, you'd still be doing phenomenally well. And I just wouldn't sweat it on that front. Cool. Moving on to our next question. Oh, let's talk about, someone brought up GW Pharmaceutical and the DEA rescheduling. There's actually a lot I can talk about that. Do you want to maybe comment first on what's going on with GW Pharmaceutical, Epidiolex, and the DEA rescheduling side of things, Sonia?
I just want to say that I'm really, really excited to see the transition and also a little bit nervous to watch what happens, because it goes from exciting to being bastardized and abused very quickly. And then I'll let you take the question because I've answered the lion's share so far. So you go ahead, Charles.
Oh, no, not a problem. So what GW Pharmaceutical and the rescheduling, and let me just pull up the information on this in case people weren't aware. So I'm going to share my screen. DEA Epidiolex. So about 2 weeks ago, hold on, let me go pull this up and get the right screen. Okay, hopefully everyone can see my screen. I don't have too much background. About 2 weeks ago, a big thing occurred where the DEA rescheduled Epidiolex and literally is now allowing the drug to be available on the open market. And this represents a massive shift in policy and distribution, because with DEA rescheduling, Epidiolex is the first cannabinoid or marijuana based drug that will actually be available on the pharmacy shelves. So for every CVS, every Walgreens, any drugstore out there, they will be able to carry this drug, all across the country. Now, that is a massive step for legalization. It is also, though, depending on how you look at it, possibly a little bit of a insider trick that might be going on, or, insider type moves, because what's going to happen now, oh, sorry, let's see. I don't want to sign on for some newsletter. What happens now is that every doctor in the country can actually prescribe. So if you're sitting in the if you're sitting in the doctor's office or whatnot, and in the past you only had an opioid and you're in a state that's not legal, Epidiolex could actually be prescribed for you as a solution. Now, what that does is it gives GW Pharmaceuticals massive distribution, because instead of having to go to a dispensary, and even if this is in a legalized state, you can literally pick this stuff up at the Walgreens or the CVS, and that's big for everyone out there. And not only that, I don't know how it works in the legal states, but this is potentially, as a prescription drug, could be covered under health insurance. So those rules and regulations are still being worked out. But if you can actually use your health insurance to pay for a pharmaceutical to solve maybe a seizure problem or some of these other issues that people are using medical marijuana for, I mean, that's amazing from my perspective, from an adoption. And I guess, can you use insurance today to buy, to use for medical cannabis in legal states, or is it considered off prescription? I don't know if you know anything about this, Sonia.
Cannabis is not covered by insurance, and neither are any of the derivatives. And I don't know that it will be until it is coming straight through the pipeline that insurance complies with, So I think that I think that we're a little bit far off. But again, cannabis always surprises me when it comes to the time frame. So
yeah, and so it might be a little bit ways away on that front. But in terms of, for GW Pharmaceuticals and the rescheduling by the DEA, probably shortly in the next, I don't know if it's a couple weeks or a couple months, you'll be able to pick up, if you get the prescription from your doctor, you'll be able to literally pick it up at every CVS or Rite Aid or Walgreens on every corner. So that's a game changer, I think, for the medicine and the drug, and for general acceptance on that front. Yeah, I guess someone was mentioning the cost is a little high. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I was just gonna say that this is, you know, it's one more way for the pharmaceutical industry to get their buck, you know. So I know that medical professionals are anxious to promote it. And I'm just wondering what the compensation or relationship is going to look like on the back end.
oh yeah, there's definitely a business there's definitely a lot of business going on that front. And I mean, I guess, yeah, the initial cost of it, people are saying it's going to cost about $30,000 a year for the dosage for a year. I don't know how that compares against cannabis in terms of what a year's worth of
Did you say
cannabis.
30,000?
Yes, $30,000 a year.
I'm going to do some real quick math while you take the next question, and I'll tell you how it compares.
Okay, I honestly have no idea on that front. So going on to the next question, and there'll probably be actually, oh wow, it's already 1 o'clock.
Last question, because I have to pop off. I have another interview.
Oh, okay. So actually, why don't you just do the math and then we can get wrapped up, because let's just finish it up for the next.
So if you spend $100 a week in cannabis, which is, I would say, a mid-range, mid to low level consumer, you're spending about $5,200 a year
Oh, wow.
on cannabis. My husband and I I'll just multiply that and say that we're doing about about $100 a person, right? So let's say $200 a week. Yeah, so we're spending about, let's say, $10,000 a year, $10,000 to $12,000 a year if we get specialty products or have some sort of thing. And that's not including like our paraphernalia or methods of ingestion. Like if we're using the rig or whatever, the tools to administer also come into cost. And let's say we spend another $3,000 on that. So using the actual and even then we're half the price of what the pharmaceutical will cost.
Now, does that also include, because Epidiolex that dosage is based on somebody with Dravet syndrome, which is a pretty severe form of childhood epilepsy. So would somebody, for example, who's on Dravet syndrome, would they need more cannabis, or is the $100 a week enough for someone like that? I don't understand dosing.
Well, it just depends again on if they're in an extreme situation of like cancer recovery, let's just say, or epilepsy. It can get a little bit more expensive, or be a little bit more of an investment, but I still don't think it'll hit $30,000.
Okay, which is a valid point on that front.
I think it max, like if you're looking at one of these concentrate things, they're anywhere from $30 to $60 a gram. And that gram, depending on your use, can last you a day. It can last you a month. James and I would say we're daily cannabis consumers. James has multiple medical conditions, one of which is Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, which causes, inflammation. It causes gout. It causes, these major pain situations where he has to consume cannabis daily in order to function. And one of those concentrate things will last him about a week, a week to 9 days or so. And even let's say at $50, at $50 a week, he's not even touching a $30,000 price point.
Wow.
Annual, so, and he's a heavy consumer.
Well, there it tells you, big pharma's in here. They're gonna make money off of it, and
everybody's trying to get their buck.
Definitely. Cool. Well, I think it's about time to sign off. I guess, Sonia, you have to run right now. So for everyone tuning in, thank you again very much. Unfortunately, Roz couldn't make it, so I tried to fill in for her, and I guess I don't look as cute as her. So it's life on that side.
Awesome. And for all of you guys tuning in from from Legalize It, Don't Criticize It, and the Green Rush. Thanks so much for being a part of our community. It's our mission to empower you with the truth about cannabis and the new emerging business and health opportunities that come along with the emerging industry. So thanks so much for tuning in with us. And if you didn't get your question answered, don't worry. We are going to start to implement this weekly. And I can't wait for you guys to meet Roz. She's incredible and extremely knowledgeable in the cannabis space. And as far as cannabis finance goes, Charles is the go-to person. So feel free to leave your comment, like, and share this video. And thanks so much for being a part of our group. And we'll see you on the next broadcast.
Alrighty. Thanks a lot. See you guys around.